Hey people, welcome back to the channel. This is a story in which Naruto meets Kurama in the land of waves and they have a mutual friendship. In this story Naruto shifts toward his mother's side as a Uzumaki seal master. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. Leave a comment if you want to suggest fanfic. Check the description for credits and support the creator of the story. So let us begin. Chapter 80. Brothers running into the forests for protection. 6 Naruto clones finally came to a halt as they had put a good enough distance between them and the two fighting Biju. A massive tremor ripped through the landscape and a shockwave nearly tore the trees from their roots, the result of two Bijudama colliding with one another. One of the clones set down the large scroll that was given to them by the original in order to place the sealing formula on for the seal that would once again reseal Shukaku within Gaara. While Naruto didn't particularly like the thought of sealing that maniacal Tanuki back in one he thought of as a brother, Gaara had been taken over by the Ikibi, a result of a destroyed seal from an attempted extraction of the Biju, and now the only way Naruto could save the current cage was to reseal Shukaku. Right, so which seal do you think we should use? Asked one of the Narutos as they began discussing amongst themselves what would be the best way to seal up the Ikibi. How about one we know works? Said another clone, pointing at his own stomach. That actually could work, said another clone. But wait, questioned a different clone. Doesn't that seal result in the Shinigami consuming your soul? No, that's the dead demon consuming seal, said the clone that suggested the seal in the first place. I'm talking about the 8 trigram seal. Dad used the dead demon consuming seal to weaken Kurama by sealing part of him within the Shinigami so that he could then use the 8 trigram seal to seal Kurama within us. Okay, but still, if we use the 8 trigram seal, that would still allow for Shukaku to converse with Gaara. I thought we wanted to keep Shukaku away from Gaara, said another concerned clone. Gaara will be in control. We can't completely separate the two, but we can give Gaara a seal that will give him much more protection and control over the Ikibi's chakra, said the first clone. And besides, Gaara and Shukaku are eventually going to need to learn to work together. As much as Kurama would hate to admit it, we'll need the Ikibi's help if we want to defeat Akatsuki for good. Right, let's get to work on this, agreed the other clones as another chaotic clash erupted in the distant. Both Kurama and Shukaku charged up Bijudamas before firing them at one another. The two chakra spheres collided with one another, unleashing their immense energy upon the surrounding landscape, leaving a crater where the two balls collided. Shukaku whipped up a wave of sand and sent it towards Kurama. Responding to the sand wave, Kurama exhaled a scorching hot foxfire, engulfing the sand and halting the wave. The flames died away quickly, revealing a large wall of glass between the two Biju. Kurama dashed towards his brother, intent on simply smashing the glass wall aside with a swipe of his claw. However, Shukaku had other plans as he fired off a succession of futon, drilling air bullets at Kurama. The first bullet shattered the glass wall like nothing while the second one propelled the glass shrapnel towards Kurama. Kurama skidded to a halt as he whipped his tails around like a fan, sending a powerful gust to clash with Shukaku's air glass bullet. The two jutsus met, but Kurama's had much more power behind it, sending the glass flying in all directions in front of him. Hey, that little puff of yours isn't going to be enough to stop me, taunted Kurama. Enraged by Kurama's taunts, Shukaku quickly charged up a Bijudama before firing it at Kurama. The giant fox ducked underneath the ball of chakra, an explosion erupting behind him and sending another quake through the already damaged landscape. Shukaku had already dashed towards Kurama and lashed out at the 9-tailed Biju with his tail. Kurama jumped to the side but not before grabbing Shukaku's tail in his jaw. Shukaku let out a scream as Kurama's teeth dug into the sandy tail and Kurama quickly planted his feet firmly in the ground before tossing Shukaku into the nearby lake, which really wasn't much bigger than a puddle for a child comparatively. With a shriek that would put a little girl to shame, Shukaku leapt out of the water as he attempted to dry that wet and sandy posterior of his. Ah, did I get you wet? Mocked Kurama. Geez, and I thought Matabi was always fussy after getting wet. You know, now that I really think about it, you're not so much a raccoon dog, but a raccoon cat. Shukaku sent a glare towards Kurama, one that only the Shinigami's mother could love. Oh, that had definitely crossed the line. No way was he going to stand there and be called a mangy feline. Oh yeah. Let's see how much you fuss when I start ripping those precious tails of yours off one by one. Meow. Kurama's cat calling only served to enrage Shukaku more as the one-tailed tanuki growled at his foxy brother. Well, let's see if you don't turn tail and run like a little scaredy cat after this, shouted Shukaku as he slammed his tail on the ground. Instantly, massive waves of sand rose up all around the two Biju, towering even far above Kurama's head as they threatened to crash down upon the kitsune, burying him underneath tons of sand. There was no way Kurama was going to run from this. There was no way he'd give Shukaku the satisfaction. And besides, he wasn't the most powerful Biju for nothing. The Kyuubi no Yoko stood his ground as his chakra gathered. A bright reddish-white energy began to envelop him, the result of him gathering an extraordinary amount of fire-natured chakra, empowered by his own wind nature. So you want to play? Fine. I'll show you why I am the strongest, grinned Kurama. Inferno Pulse. The energy covering Kurama's body immediately pulsated outward, unleashing a brilliant golden flame, quickly spreading throughout the area contained within Shukaku's sand waves. To anyone looking straight at it, all they could see was a blinding flash of light that would have burnt the eyes off anyone looking straight at it. When the light subsided, everything that had been within Shukaku's sand waves was petrified into either some sort of charred stone or glass. The sand that had contained the blast was now a brilliant dome of glass that began to crack and shatter, unable to support its own weight. Looking ahead of him, Kurama eyed Shukaku, now entrapped in a thick cocoon of glass. Kurama knew the attack wouldn't kill the Ikibi as he didn't gather nearly enough energy for it to kill another Biju, but it had turned the outer layers of Shukaku's sand into glass. Even from here, he could tell his brother was struggling desperately to get free of the glass prison as a few cracks began to propagate. Okay, your clones can finish their part anytime now. I've had more than enough fun for now, grinned Kurama. What was that? Gasped Naruto. And why didn't you tell me you could do something like that? Meh, I've still gotta have a few tricks up my sleeve now, don't I? Okay, it's done, said one of the Naruto clones working on the new seal for Gaara. Let's get it to boss then. Kurama should be done pretty soon, said one of the clones. The clones looked up to see a massive dome of sand rose up around where Kurama and Shukaku were fighting. But when a bright flash erupted from inside the dome, turning all of the sand into glass, the clones were left staring. They were all thinking the same thing. What other cool abilities was Kurama hiding from them? I think that would have done it, said a clone, getting nods out of the rest as they rolled up the ceiling scroll and took off towards the Biju battle. As Kakashi, Sakura, Sasuke, and the shinobi from Suna were racing towards the battleground, a bright flash erupted just beyond the nearest hill. What's going on over there? Asked a worried Tamari. Well, if I had to take a guess, I'd say a battle of that scale would only be fought between two powerful entities, or in other words, Biju, said Kakashi. So Naruto's over there? Asked Sakura. Yeah. I sent him away with Gaara because of concerns over Akatsuki's extraction process weakening the seal on Gaara and the Shukaku escaping, said Kakashi. I've heard the name Naruto, said Chiyo. You expect a child to be able to fix a Jinchuriki's seal. Please, don't make me laugh. Fuinjutsu is a delicate art that takes decades to master. There's no way a child could even hope to understand the workings of a demon containment seal. Normally, I would agree with you on that, Chiyo-san, but you see Naruto's different, said Kakashi. You see, when it comes to Fuinjutsu, Naruto's probably the best our village has. Even Jiraiya-sama claims Naruto's mastery over sealing has surpassed his. Impossible. There was only one clan who could have possessed that level of skill, and they're all, retorted Chiyo. Gone, finished Kakashi before letting out a chuckle. You said you knew Naruto's name. Well then you would know he bears the name of that clan as well. And I assure you, the Uzumaki blood flows strongly through Naruto's veins. Kakashi's and everyone else's attention returned to the path ahead of them, Chiyo falling momentarily behind. So that clan still lives. Hey, I figured those fools in Iwa, Kumo, and Kiri would never be able to truly eliminate them. That's what you get for depending on the aid of other villages. The clones arrived at the decimated battlefield to see Shukaku pinned to the earth by Kurama. You having fun there, Kurama? Called one of the clones. Hey, I'll admit it was fun to see my brother again, or at least put him in his place, grinned Kurama. You got the seal ready. Naruto patted the scroll on his back and Shukaku began to struggle violently against Kurama's restraints. I will not go back, shouted Shukaku as he managed to get off a bullet of wind, aimed at the clones, before Kurama slammed his paw into the back of Shukaku's head, driving the tanuki's face into the scorched earth. Still, the wind bullet managed to hit the clones, dispelling them and causing the scroll to fly off across the petrified landscape. Wow, your clones really are squishy, thought Kurama. Damn it. Now I'm going to have to do the sealing myself, swore Naruto. And that means returning to your normal fun and probably letting the Shukaku up, said Kurama. Yeah, and the clone I left behind to assist you didn't last long either, said Naruto. You know, if you could find a way to temporarily separate us, then that will allow me to fight and you to assist. Not to mention, you won't go, squish, as easily, chuckled Kurama. Yeah, perhaps you were right there. But we'll worry about that later, said Naruto. I've got an idea on how to keep Shukaku down while I seal him. Do I think you're going to do what I think you're going to do? Asked Kurama. Naruto nodded and Kurama let out a little laugh. Hee hee. Go for it. I can't wait to see it. Giving control back to Naruto, the full Kyuubi mode form quickly receded to leave just Naruto standing atop Shukaku. As soon as Shukaku felt the weight lessen, he quickly picked himself up and threw Naruto off of him. Ha. You really thought you could seal me away, brat, shouted Shukaku. Naruto said, pointing upwards. Summoning. Food cart destroyer technique. Shukaku looked up just in time to see a couple hundred tons of purple toad crash down on top of him. Think you can hold him for just a little, Gameiken, called out Naruto. I will try, but as you know I am rather clumsy, said Gameiken. Kurama was getting a good laugh at Shukaku being pinned underneath a mass of toad and Naruto darted off in the direction in which the scroll went flying, finding it a couple hundred meters from where Shukaku shot it away from the clones. Naruto. Naruto turned around to see his team and a number of Suna ninja heading towards you. Looking up, Kakashi noticed a giant toad on top of a sandy tanuki. You weren't able to make it in time, were you? Asked Kakashi. I had just gotten away from that bomber bastard and started checking the seal. Before I could even begin to repair it, Shukaku came out to play. Kurama beat him pretty bad, but I need to get this new seal on Gaara to stop the Ikibi and save Gaara, said Naruto. Well, let's not hold you any longer, said Kakashi. Be careful everyone. As Naruto approached Shukaku, the tanuki managed to throw Gameiken off of him. I am sorry, Naruto-san, but I am quite clumsy. No, you did good Gameiken, said Naruto before dismissing the giant toad. Sasuke. Right, nodded Sasuke. Kaden. Majestic Fire Annihilation. Futon. Hurricane's Wrath. The two high-powered jutsus combined with one another, engulfing Shukaku in a massive inferno of flames. For the second time today, the Ikibi found himself encased in a glassy prison. Naruto quickly followed up, wanting to seal the Ikibi before the tanuki escaped his prison, by unfurling the scroll in front of him and going through the Uzumaki hand seals associated with the clan's sealing arts. Secret Uzumaki Fuinjutsu. 8 trigrams demonic sealing technique. Naruto slammed his hand onto the scroll and the seal shot outwards towards the encased Ikibi. Just as Shukaku broke free of his glass cocoon, he found himself bound by powerful chains of sealing kanji. No. You won't go back, shouted Shukaku as he struggled helplessly against the seal. He then looked down towards Naruto. You just wait, bastard. When I get out, I'm going to kill you and everyone you know. When talking to the person who held your fate in their hands, that was probably the last thing anyone would say. Yeah, well, good luck getting out of this any time soon, you sandy bastard. Seal. Making the final hand seal, the seal went to work sucking Shukaku back into his Jinchuriki. As the sand of Shukaku fell away, Naruto finally got a glimpse of Gaara, lying atop a mound of sand. Gaara! Shouted Naruto and Temari as they both rushed to the Kazekage's side. Everyone else quickly followed, with Chio just staring in awe. Sakura pushed her way through to Gaara and ran a quick diagnostic on the young Kazekage. He's alive and stable, said Sakura. She then looked down at Gaara's navel, where the coat he was wearing had been burned away, revealing the bare skin there and the glowing seal now present there. That looks just like, yeah. I used the same seal I have on Gaara. That should allow him to isolate his mind from Shukaku's conscious while giving him access to the Ikibi's chakra, said Naruto. Chiyo stepped forward and one look at the seal told her everything. This seal, so your captain was right. From someone so young, this truly is a marvel to my old eyes. Huh. Who are you, Granny? Asked Naruto, before Sakura quickly shoved his head downwards in an apologetic manner. This is Chiyo-sama, one of Suna's honored elders, said Sakura. It's all right, Sakura, replied Chiyo. I am actually the one who sealed the Ikibi in Gaara in the first place. That was probably the worst thing she could have said at that moment as a killing intended defend the entire area. You were the one who put that seal on Gaara, growled Naruto. Do you even realize what you did? That thing you call a seal was a piece of crap. It's a miracle Gaara was even able to hold off the ICHIBI's influence up until now. Naruto shot Chiyo a glare with red eyes that shook her to her very core. You're the reason he's suffered so long. You're the reason, Naruto, said Kakashi as he grabbed Naruto's arm. Looking over at Chiyo, she was honestly shivering at the ki Naruto directed towards her. Even the elder shinobi, who had experienced a number of wars in her days, had never felt something of that magnitude. Don't blame her. Suna never really was known for their expertise in sealing. I'm sure Chiyo-sama did everything she could with the available tools. When dealing with sealing the Shukaku, Suna actually used to consult the very clan you appear to come from. However, when the Yondaime Kazekage decided to seal the Ikibi within Gaara, well, you're probably aware of what caused the outbreak of the Second Shinobi War, said Chiyo. It's true that Gaara's seal wasn't the best for sealing a Biju, but your captain's right, that's all I had to work with at the time. You could have at least called Konoha and had Jiraiya oversee the sealing, said Naruto. I would personally prefer not to rely on another village, said Chiyo. Relying on silly alliances is what got Suna into the mess it is now. A village needs to know how to stand on its own feet. Believe it or not, she's right Naruto, said Kakashi, sensing Naruto's temper rising. Still, I've just got this gut feeling that if we don't all come together sooner or later, then we're all going to be in trouble, said Naruto. Anyways, I need to check Gaara's seal. Naruto placed his hands over Gaara's new seal and channeled some chakra into it. Closing his eyes, Naruto's consciousness entered Gaara's seal. Gaara's seal, believe it or not, Gaara's seal actually was kind of what one would expect. Naruto found himself staring forward into a hall leading into a giant pyramid in the middle of the desert. Shall we go and see my brother? Naruto looked down to find that he was actually standing on top of Kurama's head. Kurama. What are you doing here? Asked Naruto. This isn't like what happened back in the Chunin exams, is it? No. When you entered Gaara's seal, I channeled some of my chakra as well to join you. There's something I am waiting to happen and now's probably the best time for it to happen, said Kurama. The two began their trek into the pyramid and down the long winding hallway. In a large room, a blood-red-haired young man with a tattoo for love on his forehead stood facing a rather large gate with a seal keeping the gate shut. Where am I? Asked Gaara as he looked around at the unfamiliar surroundings. He then heard a noise coming from within the gate. Who's there? Please child, let mother out of here, pleaded the voice from inside the gate. Please get me out of here. You need me and I need you. Without me, you'll be all alone. You can stop calling yourself Mother, Shukaku. It's rather insulting, said Gaara. The chamber became a bit brighter, revealing the Ikibi stuck behind the bars and within the cage. That still doesn't change the fact that you need me, said Shukaku. Besides, I need you. I'm the only one who has ever needed you. You're wrong about that, rebutted Gaara. Oh, you think those silly insects who made you, Kazekage, truly need you, said Shukaku sarcastically. No. A sandy fist slammed into the gates, but failed to even cause them to shudder. They only made you Kazekage because they fear you. They feared that you would destroy them all, so they submitted to you. It is because of me that you're Kazekage. You're wrong, shouted a voice from down the corridor. Gaara and Shukaku looked that direction. To see a large reddish-orange fox with a blonde riding atop its head. Shukaku let out a venomous hiss as Naruto jumped down to Gaara's side. You. Come here. I'll fucking kill you, shouted Shukaku. In response, Kurama let out a frightful roar, causing even Shukaku to flinch slightly. Gaara didn't become Kazekage because of you. He became Kakazekage because he's exactly what you're not, argued Naruto to the one-tailed Biju. Gaara, everyone who counts on you, the entire village of Suna, is either waiting for you to wake up, or is worried sick back in Suna for their Kazekage to return to them safely. Uzumaki Naruto, spoke Gaara. I take it this seal is your doing. It is. It's much stronger than your previous one and will stop Sandy over here from troubling you, said Naruto. Hell, now you'll finally be able to get a good night's sleep without worrying about him. Sleep? Gasped Gaara, completely unfamiliar with the concept. Naruto, thank you. Don't mention it, buddy, grinned Naruto. Now come on, everyone's waiting for you outside. Don't you dare leave me here. I'll find a way out of this infernal contraption and when I do, I'll kill everyone. Cursed Shukaku. Good luck. The only way to release the seal is with the key and trust me, I have no intentions of putting Gaara through that anytime soon, said Naruto as he reminisced the feeling of having a toad shoved down his throat. Kurama got a little laugh out of Naruto's expression. What do you mean? Asked Gaara. Trust me, I'm doing you a favor, said Naruto. I'll give you the key when you're absolutely sure you're ready. Until then, you won't have to worry about Sandy. Shukaku growled at the blonde before finally deciding to charge up a Bijudama. The Aikibi fired off the sphere of chakra, which exploded upon impacting the gates. When the dust cleared, the gates held firm and nothing had happened except for the Shukaku's temper rising to the point where he might just cook himself into glass. Why do you have to be so hostile, Shukaku? What? Who said that? I don't remember anyone else being in here, said Naruto as he frantically looked around for the source of the voice. So it appears as if I was correct, said Kurama as a smile crept upon his foxy face. It's been a while, old man. Shukaku's eyes widened as he eyed the man walking towards everyone. Everyone else's attention turned to see a man wearing a long hiyori with light spiky hair, which strongly resembled horns, and wielding a shakuho. However, the most striking features of the man were his eyes. His eyes appeared to be composed of numerous concentric purple rings. Father. Gasped Shukaku. It honestly didn't take Naruto to piece the pieces together on just who this man was. Given everything that Kurama had told him, Naruto had already realized that this man was in fact the Raikudo Sennin, or at least the manifestation of the Sennin's chakra from within Shukaku. Still, Naruto couldn't help but stare in awe at the man in front of him. This was the founding father of ninjutsu himself and Naruto had missed his chance to meet him the last time around. Hello, Shukaku, greeted the sage before turning to Kurama, Naruto, and Gaara, both of the Jinchuriki not able to believe what was actually happening. And hello Kurama, young ones. I take it you have already met with the chakra I left you, Kurama. Kurama nodded. The sage turned his attention back to the reason he was here, to quell Shukaku's bloodthirst and hatred. Now what seems to be troubling you my child, said the sage as he calmly walked through the bars of the cage. In front of the sage, Shukaku playfully rolled over, revealing his bare belly and as the sage gave Shukaku a scratch on his belly, the Aikibi's leg began to twitch playfully. Both Naruto and Gaara could only stare in shock as Shukaku had been reduced to a mere puppy in front of them and Kurama simply sweat dropped. I can feel that you've been troubled all these years, Shukaku, but mindless killing is by no means the way to go about your life, said the sage. I brought you and your siblings into this world to find your own peace and to help maintain the peace of the world. However, I fear as if hatred is beginning to consume the hearts of every living being on this planet. It was that hatred that blinded you and drove you down the path you have been following. However, I feel as if it is time you looked at taking a new path. Perhaps by journeying down a different path will you find true peace and at the same time, help restore balance to this increasingly volatile world. But father, all this time, all I've known is killing. What am I supposed to do? Asked Shukaku. Remember what I said. I said to you and your siblings to follow a righteous path, said the sage. Find something to live for in this world besides mindless killing and hatred. Turn your back to the darkness and walk towards the light. And besides, I'm sure there are a few people who would be more than glad to help you. The sage pointed his shakuho towards Naruto and Gaara. Both of which smiled and nodded. If it meant stripping the Aikibi of his hatred to gain a powerful ally and potential friend, they would help. Kurama merely sighed in defeat. Think about what I have said, Shukaku, and what you can do to begin anew. Unfortunately, my time is running short and the chakra I sealed within you is nearly out. I will, father. Thank you, replied Shukaku. Old man, wait up one moment, spoke Kurama. Yes, Kurama, answered the sage. The ghetto Mazo is back, said Kurama in an ominous tone. The sage's peaceful expression was quickly removed from his face and replaced with a more serious one. The ghetto Mazo. You mean that statue thingy? Asked Naruto. Kurama nodded. What's so bad about? The ghetto Mazo is the body of the Jubi that I sealed away within the moon 1,000 years ago, said the sage. If the chakras of all 9 of my children, the Biju, were ever returned to that statue, the Jubi would return to this world and hatred would truly consume it once again. Yeah, and Sandy over there nearly got himself sealed within that abomination, stated Kurama. Shukaku actually felt ashamed that had it not have been for Kurama, he would be stuck inside that statue. Unfortunately, this was the time when the sage began to fade from existence as his chakra was running short. You will need to gather the remainder of your siblings, said the sage. And preferably sooner rather than later. Your 9 chakras cannot be allowed to reunite within that statue, or I fear what will become of this world. If you ever need to speak to me, you know where to find me. By then, the sage's chakra had completely vanished. 2 of the 9 ways to speak to the Rakuto Sennin were now exhausted. So what do we do about Sandy? Asked Naruto as they faced the Ikibi's cage. Already, they could tell that Shukaku's thoughts had changed and he was now in conflict with himself. Go, spoke Shukaku. I must think about what father said. In the real world, after a few minutes of focusing on Gaara's seal, Naruto finally woke up from his little trance, still trying to sort out everything that had happened within the seal. Finally, much to everyone's anticipation, Gaara's eyes began to open. Welcome back, Gaara. You sure have caused us a great deal of trouble, smiled Naruto as Gaara gazed around at everyone surrounding him. Tell me about it, said a voice that sounded like Kankuro. Walking towards them was Kankuro along with another large group of Suna ninja. Just like a little brother, causing me all kinds of worries. Whack. You're not supposed to be moving for a few more days. Shouted Sakura. What do you think you're doing out of the hospital? No one hits my brothers, shouted Tamari, defending her brother before whacking him upside the head with her fan. Except me. And she's right, you should still be in the hospital. Troublesome, thought Naruto. Some hill in Konoha, a certain Nara with a pineapple-like ponytail couldn't resist the urge to sneeze. Man, why do I get the feeling someone I know is causing trouble somewhere, thought Shikamaru. Troublesome. The lazy Nara then proceeded to lie back down against the hillside and watch clouds. Back with Gaara, what's up with you two anyways? Gaara's the cage, remember, stated Tamari. I'm so relieved Gaara-sama's going to be alright, said one of the Suna ninja, breathing a sigh of relief. Oh please, like anything bad would happen to Gaara-sama, shouted Matsuri, thumping the Suna shinobi on the back of the head. Gaara-sama's silent and cool, and strong, and attractive, and elite. So true, but there's still something about him that's just cute, exclaimed another girl by the name of Yukata. And after all, he is the cage. Immediately, the 2 girls dashed towards their idol, knocking poor Naruto out of the way and onto the ground. Disc, fangirls, tsked Sasuke as he sat down beside Naruto. Tell me about it, replied Naruto. Sasuke immediately sent a questioning look to his blonde teammate. Since when did you know the horrors of fangirls? Ever since I saved the land of snow from a tyrannical ruler, replied Naruto. Ah. Yeah, I heard about that, said Sasuke. Girls will pretty much always act like that, falling for the elite and cool guys, said Kankuro, joining the guys. Yeah, I remember Shikamaru saying something like that, said Naruto. And besides, none of them compare to Hinata-chan. Anyways, thank you, Naruto. And to you and your sensei as well, Uchiha Sasuke, said Kankuro. Don't mention it. There was no way I was going to let Gaara die to those creeps anyways, said Naruto. Oh, and I fixed his seal. He should be able to keep the Ikibi under control now and also get some real sleep. You really are something, Uzumaki Naruto, said Chio as she came over to Naruto. I honestly never expected someone from another village to go to such lengths to save another cage. Perhaps you are different after all. After a few more minutes of rest and Tamari trying to fend off the 2 fangirls, the group was finally ready to return to Suna. Can I get a hand? Chuckled Kakashi, finding himself unable to move from his position on the ground he had taken up. That new Sharingan really takes a lot out of me. Great, thought Sakura. Looks like we probably won't be leaving Suna for a few days until you can regain enough chakra to make the trip back, Kakashi-sensei. That's okay, said Naruto. Besides, I think Suna actually has a ramen stand in my ramen passport book. Tabeo. Some things never change, sighed Sasuke. Huh. Chio-bachan, said Naruto, looking over at the collapsed and unconscious woman sitting on the ground near them. The blonde went over and gave her a slight tap on the shoulder. Nothing. Hey Sakura-chan, is something wrong with Chio-bachan? What? Her pulse is gone, gasped Sakura. Had Chio really just died on them there? She's dead. But how? Wah! Shouted Chio as she leapt up in front of Naruto and Sakura, scaring the two Chunin nearly to death. The old lady let out a laugh. Wahaha. Over the years, I learned how to slow my heart rate to a snail's pace. You have no idea how many times I've done that to people, ha ha ha. Everyone just faulted at senile old woman's antics. Naruto and Sasuke helped Kakashi to his feet and began carrying their sensei back to Suna for some much needed rest. You know, just be glad Guy isn't here, said Kakashi. Most likely, he would have thrown me on his back and piggybacked me all the way back to Konoha. Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke shuddered at the image Kakashi had just put in their heads. So this is the real Sasori, thought Zetsu. Behind Zetsu, another cloaked wearing an orange spiral mask was digging through the rubble before pulling a ring out of the rubble. I found it, Zetsu-san, cheered the other person. So do you think I'll be able to become a member of Akatsuki now? After all, there is an open spot. You moron, you don't really think you can join so easily, do you? Retorted Zetsu. Oh come on, we can let him in, said Zetsu. After all, Toby is a good boy. And with that, Toby dropped the ring down a deep crevice in the rubble. The Kazekage's company was greeted with massive cheer as they approached the gates of Suna. Right away, Sakura directed her team, and Kankuro to the hospital. We'll probably be here for the rest of the week while Kakashi-sensei rests, Sakura. I'll send a report to Tsunade Shisho and let her know when to expect us back. But besides that, I know I could use a little break. Within minutes, Naruto found himself at Suna's premier ramen stand, anxiously waiting on a bowl of Suna's dessert heat ramen. Upon receiving the bowl, Naruto's nose was bombarded by the scent of various spices. One thing that really caught Naruto's attention about the ramen was that instead of using beef, chicken, or shrimp as the meat in the dish, the ramen contained diced lamb meat, something Naruto was unfamiliar with. Taking one slurp of the ramen, Naruto was in heaven. So good. And so, it was now that the spices were beginning to work their magic on Naruto's mouth. Hot. 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 Currently, Naruto found himself sitting on top of one of the cliffs surrounding Suna, a few things on his mind that he was actively discussing with Kurama. Hey Kurama, I had a thought, said Naruto. I've been thinking and it feels like the best path to go is to find a way to temporarily separate us. That way, you can fight with your own abilities and I can assist you with my senjutsu and fuinjutsu. I've been thinking about that as well. While I would say that I could normally handle anything we would encounter myself, I realized that when trying to seal Shukaku that it would have actually been better if you could act separate to me, without having to resort to using a shadow clone that just went squish, said Kurama, laughing at the last part. I was actually thinking of using a shadow clone, but what if I used your chakra to make it instead of mine? Asked Naruto. That could work to an extent. My chakra would definitely be more durable than a normal shadow clone. But realize that we're not making a shadow clone. A shadow clone is a copy of you, however we're looking for a way to bring me out in a separate entity from yourself. And besides, a shadow clone has similar chakra as the original. You may be able to have your clones use separate elements, but that doesn't mean they can handle two completely different types of chakra, said Kurama. A shadow clones is a start, but I think if we were to go along that route, we'd need to create a completely new type of clone jutsu. Yeah, I think I get it, said Naruto. And I also need to find a place where I can train using your chakra before we can get started on this new jutsu. I don't think the village will take too well to me using Biju chakra within its walls, or you suddenly appearing out of nowhere when we do manage to get it right. Perhaps the pervert knows a place where we could use, replied Kurama. Yeah, said Naruto as something else, something much larger began to weigh on his thoughts. Hey Kurama, my dad was the one who sealed you, right? Yeah, why ask a silly question, retorted Kurama. It's the seal he used, the 8 trigrams demonic containment seal. It's the one he used on me and the one I used on Gaara. But the question I have, is how did he use it? Asked Naruto. I don't think I quite get where you're going, replied Kurama. The 8 trigrams demonic containment seal is an Uzumaki developed seal, said Naruto. But that's just it. It's an Uzumaki seal. I found it in the secret scroll that showed the Uzumaki clan's demonic sealing arts. My dad shouldn't have been able to use that seal, but I've looked it over extensively and it's the same exact seal he used on me. Only someone with Uzumaki blood could have used that seal, but my dad's not an Uzumaki. Are you absolutely sure about that? Asked Kurama. Yeah. I asked Ero Sennin and according to the village's records, my dad's not related to the clan, said Naruto. But the only way to use that seal is to have Uzumaki blood in your veins, said Kurama. You know what I think. I think there's still much about your dad's side of your lineage we still don't know. I've asked Kakashi and Ero Sennin what they knew about my dad's family, but even they didn't know much, just that the Namikaze family has been with Konoha since the beginning and my dad was orphaned at a young age as a result of the war at the time, said Naruto. The only one I can think of who could give you the answers are the Yondaime, your father, himself. However, you never asked him that when you met him, said Kurama. I know. I know mom and dad left me a few things before they died. Perhaps my dad has something that explains more, said Naruto. And while we're on that note, what about your mother's notebook? Asked Kurama. Sorry. I asked Bachan, but she said that everything my parents left me was sealed within numerous storage scrolls and I can't get them until I turn 16. It's less than 4 months away. Can you wait? Asked Naruto. Kurama grumbled a bit, but figured that village politics would most likely get in the way. Still, that didn't stop him from saying a few choice words about the village's inheritance policies. I know. And I promise, the moment I get my hands on that book, I'll begin my search for her, said Naruto. By the time Team 7 was ready to depart Suna, Kakashi had recovered to the point where he could travel at a decent pace back to Konoha. He still wouldn't be going on active duty for some time, but at the very least the nightmares Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke have been having recently of Kakashi and Guy playing piggyback wouldn't be coming true anytime soon. We'll be seeing you then, said Kankuro. It sucks that we had to cancel these Chunin exams, otherwise I'd be saying to stop by and see some of the action if you get a chance. Yeah, said Naruto. Normally, I guess this is where you're supposed to shake hands and leave, but I'm not very good with that kind of thing. Naruto was cut off by Gaara offering his hand for Naruto to shake. A warm smile came to everyone's face and some of Gaara's sand slowly began to move Naruto's hand towards Gaara as the two brothers shook hands. Uzumaki Naruto. Thank you, for everything, said Gaara. Yeah, thank you for everything, Naruto, said Temari. Hey, because of that new seal, we actually had to wake Gaara up or else he'd miss your departure, said Kankuro. Who knew Gaara even knew how to sleep that much? Senpai. Deidara Senpai. The one-armed Akatsuki sighed as he heard the childish voice of Tobi approach. What happened to the Jinchuriki? Asked Bizetsu. Tisk. Deidara shrugged. Leader Sama's not going to be happy. So both the Ikibi and Kyuubi got away. Shame, said Wzetsu. Anyways, Leader Sama has requested you return to the main base. We will recoup and reassign tasks. The death of Sasori will surely be felt through the organization, said Bizetsu. Konan has gone on ahead to capture the Gobi. We will begin the sealing once she returns. So the rumors out of Iwa about the Kyuubi brat killing old Han weren't true, said Deidara. It appears as if the Gobi used that encounter to fake his own death and escape from Iwa, said Bizetsu. Anyways, we have located its location in the southern lands of this continent. Perhaps a Jinchuriki that's already believed to be dead is the best way to begin anyways, said Deidara. What's this? You look as if you're just barely hanging in there, Deidara Senpai, said Tobi. You okay? I guess not. Toby, it's been a long day. Even my patience has its limits, said Deidara. Just try saying something else and I'll assign you a cause of death. You're just going to bomb me to death, right? Asked Toby. Art is an explosion. Katsu. Boom. Wah! Cried Toby as the explosion from a small bit of clay that Deidara found in his other pocket detonated, sending the newest Akatsuki member airborne. Konoha, I see. So not only does Akatsuki consist of Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame, but Sasori and Deidara were also members, said Tsunade. Bachan, I also remember that Kisame guy mentioning another name. Kakuzu I believe, said Naruto, recalling his fight with Kisame. Tsunade let out a sigh and crossed her hands. Well that doesn't help, said Jiraiya, appearing in the window. The only Kakuzu I know of is the one who tried to assassinate the Shodai nearly a century ago, around the time when the villages were first being formed. If the stories surrounding him are true, then Akatsuki truly has some monsters within their organization. Alright Team Kakashi, congratulations on completing your first S-rank mission. Unless you have anything else to discuss, you're dismissed, said Tsunade. Actually Bachan, can I speak with Ero Sennin? Asked Naruto. You can. I however am needed in the hospital. We almost have the Kaima genes in Isaribi decoded, said Tsunade. We're never going to be able to remove them, but once we figure out how they work, perhaps we can make the activation of the genes something Isaribi can fully control herself and without side effects. Hold on, and what about Karen Nichan? Asked Naruto. The good news is that she's agreed to cooperate fully with the interrogation department in giving us all information she has available regarding Orochimaru, said Tsunade. As such, she's only going to be placed on probation for a few months before she's allowed to join our ninja forces as a genin. That also brings me to something important I want to discuss with you, but it's something that can wait, so sometime later this week perhaps. Now if you'll excuse me. So what's up Naruto? Asked Jiraiya, he and Naruto being left alone in the Hokage's office. First, I think I figured something out regarding Orochimaru's curse mark, said Naruto, greatly piquing Jiraiya's interest. It actually absorbs natural energy into whoever bears it. Natural energy. Well that's definitely not good, said Jiraiya. Naruto proceeded to explain some of his discoveries from the mission to the Land of Sea. The instability of natural energy within those curse seal freaks of Orochimaru's actually explains a lot. Nice catch there, Naruto. Now, what else did you want to talk to me about? I wanted to know if you knew anywhere I could train, said Naruto. Huh. I mean there are plenty of training grounds around Konoha, isn't that enough? Asked Jiraiya. I mean training as in more destructive. Training like with Kurama's powers and trying to complete the Rasengan, said Naruto. The last thing I want to do is blow up part of the village or release Kurama in the middle of it, sending the entire village into a panic. You know, there is that place where your father used to train, said Jiraiya. It's an old temple buried into the side of the mountains about an hour or so north of the village. Actually, that place should be more than enough to accommodate any training you do with Kurama, so long as you don't deliberately try to bring the place down with a couple dozen bijudamas. Really? That'd be great! Exclaimed Naruto. How about I show you tomorrow, said Jiraiya. Besides, if I understand correctly, your little girlfriend is out on a mission right now and won't be back until the following day and you guys have at least a week's worth of rest before Tsunade Hime sends you on any more missions, giving you plenty of time to spend with her. A perverted grin then crept onto Jiraiya's face. And don't think I don't know about those incidents during your mission, hee. Shut it you pervert. Chapter 81. Arising Developments. Whoa, gasped Naruto as he and Jiraiya emerged from the surrounding forests. As it stood, Naruto and Jiraiya were now looking across a marvelous, arched, wooden bridge spanning across a large, calm, and blue pond. The bridge led to a staircase climbing up towards a traditional style building that looked as if it were built into the mountains. Throughout the cliff face, numerous other buildings emerged from the stone and various other bridges and walkways connected them. Yeah, I know. I said the same thing when your dad first brought me here, said Jiraiya. What is this place? Asked Naruto. It's an ancient shinobi fortress, from before the founding of the hidden villages, explained Jiraiya. Who it belonged to, I'm not sure, but your dad found it and made it his. Jiraiya stepped forth towards the bridge, however his advance was met by an invisible barrier. He littered this place with seals, making sure no one would interrupt his training. This is where your father worked on some of the more dangerous jutsus he knew, ones that aren't appropriate for practicing within Konoha or ones he didn't want anyone seeing. Kind of like what you're looking to do. This barrier can only be unlocked by blood. I believe the seal is over here. Jiraiya led Naruto to a pillar where Naruto made a quick slice across his hand to spill some blood onto the seal. The seal momentarily flashed before a hole in the barrier appeared for Naruto and Jiraiya to enter. As they entered the barrier, it closed behind them, sealing the training grounds. Who else can get in here? Asked Naruto. Minato tuned the blood seals to accept him or his descendants, myself, Sensei, and Kushina. That's it, said Jiraiya. Also, he would normally use the Hiraishin to teleport in here. Hey Arrow Sennin. Do you think you could teach me that jutsu? My dad's Hiraishin? Asked Naruto. I'm sorry, but your dad was the only one who knew how it worked. He was very protective of it as well. I can't teach it to you because I don't know where he put any notes or instructions on the jutsu, said Jiraiya. Do you think he could have hid it in here? Asked Naruto. No. He was too protective of that jutsu. This place might have been secure, but it wasn't secure enough for him, said Jiraiya. The only place Minato trusted enough to stash that jutsu was on himself. He did teach 3 others to use the jutsu, his personal guard, but they only understand it enough to the point where they can use it only in conjunction with each other. He only taught them the essentials of the jutsu, nowhere near enough to teach someone. I see, said a depressed Naruto. If there was any jutsu Naruto was looking forward to, it was that one, the one that his dad was known for. However, with his dad being the only one who knew where that jutsu was, and the Yondaime Hokage having passed away years ago, the jutsu could very well be lost to time. Don't worry about it Naruto, said Jiraiya, placing a hand on his godson's shoulder. I've got a feeling Minato wouldn't have let it just vanish. I know he did something with it and I know he intended for you to find it. I can't think of anyone else besides you who he'd want to pass on that jutsu to. That served the purpose of cheering Naruto up. Right. So where am I supposed to train? Asked Naruto. Within the mountain, there are numerous caverns that he used. Those caverns are all reinforced with seals your father installed when he first began training here. They're meant to prevent damage to the wall. Even I tested them out against my senjutsu and I didn't make a dent, said Jiraiya. Entering the first building, the Toad Sage and his apprentice entered what appeared to be a typical, if not a little bare, and large foyer that led into a large chamber. To the sides of the chamber, Naruto could see a few separate rooms, most likely used for some sort of living quarters. Jiraiya placed his hand against a seal on the wall and a matrix illuminated on the ceiling to provide light to the structure. This is really just a place to live and sleep. The training chambers are this way, said Jiraiya as he led Naruto into a hall opposite the entrance and one that seemed to venture into the mountain. Stepping into the first room, Jiraiya touched his hand against the wall and activated one of the seals against the wall, lighting the area with chakra-powered fluorescent seals. As Naruto looked through the chamber, it was a large open room with a wooden floor and numerous giant gears lining the wall. This I believe is where he did most of his close combat training, said Jiraiya. How? There's nothing in this room, said Naruto. Here, said Jiraiya, pointing to another seal matrix along the side of the wall. As he channeled chakra into one of the seals, a number of what appeared to be wooden training dummies appeared throughout the room. So he practiced against a bunch of stationary dummies. That doesn't sound too hard, said Naruto. Jiraiya of course laughed before channeling chakra into another seal. All of the sudden, the dummies rushed Naruto and struck at him with numerous hidden limbs. Acting quickly, Naruto unsheathed his sword and began hacking away at the dummies before Jiraiya decided to deactivate them. Your father spent a lot of time getting these puppet seals right. The seal matrix that controls them is over on this wall. You can summon roughly 1,000 of these things at once and try to fight them all off, said Jiraiya. Wow. Really? How many was my dad able to beat? Asked Naruto. Hey, he was able to reach 1,000. He had thought about increasing the size of the summoning seals, but never got around to it, said Jiraiya. Come on, the next room is this way. Jiraiya led Naruto to a hole in the gears and they once again stepped into another dark cavern. However, the sound of rushing water could tell Naruto that there was a subterranean river flowing nearby. Jiraiya activated another illumination seal and Naruto saw the source of the noise. They were now standing in a massive open cavern with a stream that split the first third and last two-thirds of the cavern. The river entered the cavern from a small waterfall pouring into the river on the right and flowed across the cavern where it disappeared into a tunnel on the left. Next to the tunnel where the river disappeared, was what appeared to be another passageway. This is where your father did a lot of his jutsu development. Really, it's just a large open space that gave him plenty of room to work with, said Jiraiya. However, I don't think this room will hold up to the prospect of you doing target practice with Bijudama. I do think the next one will though. Jiraiya led Naruto into the next room, through that one that was near the exit of the river. After descending through a tunnel for a little, Naruto's eyes widened as he gazed out upon a vast subterranean lake. Jiraiya activated the illumination seals, but instead of being placed on the ceiling and walls, they had been placed at the bottom of the lake, lighting the water up in a vibrant glow. The water was crystal clear and Naruto could actually make out the seals beneath the surface of the water. Coincidentally, the seals were arranged in the symbol of Konoha, allowing the leaf to shine up from the bottom of the lake. Whoa, gasped Naruto. I know. Pretty impressive, isn't it? Smiled Jiraiya. This room would work better for your more destructive jutsus. Just fire them into the lake and the water will dissipate the energy, said Jiraiya. Honestly, that's about it for in here. There is a passageway back near the entrance that leads to the top of the mountain, which is actually relatively flat and forested. Minato would also train up there quite a bit. I don't know how he found this place, but it should suit your needs perfectly. Consider it the first part of your inheritance. Now, what's this about completing the Rasengan? I thought you already did that, asked Jiraiya. Yeah, I thought so too, until I tried to use my futon Rasengan in Sage mode, said Naruto. Show me, asked Jiraiya. Nodding, Naruto sat down and began collecting natural energy. By this point in time, Naruto had been practicing on entering Sage mode quicker, and while it still took 30 seconds to gather enough energy, it was a definite improvement from before. Naruto formed the Rasenshuriken in his hands and Jiraiya's jaw practically hit the floor at his apprentice's development. Naruto threw the Rasenshuriken towards the middle of the lake, the giant wind shuriken exploding in the middle of the lake. Said the speechless Toad Sage. Now you see, Arrow Sennin, it's not complete, said Naruto. In fact, it's nowhere near complete. What do you mean? I'd say that's pretty complete to me, said Jiraiya. Naruto just shook his head. I don't know. Maybe that's as far as I can go with it, maybe not. I thought the futon Rasengan was the furthest I could take it, but after seeing what it did in Sage mode, I won't be surprised if the Rasengan can be taken even further than that, said Naruto. And besides, that's only with wind. What about the other elements? Jiraiya sighed. I know what you're thinking. Minato and myself were even thinking the same thing. Hell, Kakashi knows the Rasengan and has tried to add the lightning element to it. Where do you think he got his Chidori from? What? Kakashi-sensei got Chidori from the Rasengan? Asked Naruto. A failed attempt at adding lightning chakra to it at least, said Jiraiya. I'll say this, and I've said it before. I couldn't believe how proud of you I was when you made the futon Rasengan. Anyways, I'll say this. No one person is going to be able to fully complete the Rasengan. What do you mean? Asked Naruto. Think about it, said Jiraiya. An elemental Rasengan requires full mastery of an element to even have a chance at developing it. And based on your development of the wind element Rasengan, there is also a little trick to getting it to work. No ninja has ever mastered all 5 elements, with the exception of the Rakudo Sennin himself, and I doubt any ninja ever will. Even training with shadow clones, you'll never master more than 2, maybe 3 if you really push yourself. Well, I've got wind mastered, so that's 1 element, said Naruto. Jiraiya simply shook his head. Your skill with the wind element is probably the most advanced I've seen since your dad, but it's nowhere near true mastery. You said, you can't use the Rasenshuriken without Sage mode. Well, that's why. Your skill at wind manipulation may have been sufficient to make the futon Rasengan, but it's nowhere near enough for something like that without the aid of natural energy. So what do I need to do then? Asked Naruto. Do you know of anyone who has ever truly mastered an element? I know of a few, but the one that comes to mind is the Nadaime Hokage and his mastery over the water element, said Jiraiya. Now that I think of it, I know what you can do that I think would make it so you had mastery over your wind element. Really? Tell me, exclaimed Naruto. Well, one thing the Nadaime could do was performing water jutsus while only making a single hand seal, said Jiraiya. When you really think about it, that's all the hand seals are there for, is to aid in the molding of chakra. However, it is entirely possible to perform a jutsu with nothing more than a single hand seal. In fact, he could do some jutsus without any hand seals at all. Really? But I can already do a jutsu without seals, said Naruto. The Rasengan is inherently seal-less. Some jutsus just work like that, said Jiraiya. But if you want to truly master your wind element, I believe that's the direction to go. Can you use any jutsus without hand seals? Asked Naruto. Without seals? No. However, I can use my flame bullet with only one seal, said Jiraiya as he demonstrated the Kaden flame bullet by only making half of a tiger seal. If you want to start working on this, I suggest starting with your simpler wind jutsus and practice with them while removing one hand seal at a time until you can use it while making only the last hand seal. Fiery determination took over Naruto's eyes as his task was now set in front of him. Unfortunately, he would not have time to train today as it was getting late, resulting in he and Jiraiya to return to the village. Back in Tsunade's office, Naruto and Jiraiya had finished discussing any training Naruto would be undergoing at his new training ground. While Tsunade didn't have a problem with Naruto leaving to train there, she did insist that Naruto not travel out of the village alone. At first Naruto protested, but after Tsunade expressed her concerns, especially with Akatsuki out there, he gave in to her terms that he'd take either Jiraiya, Kakashi-sensei, Yamato, Iruka, or another approved Jonin. Now Naruto, I need to discuss something important with you, said Tsunade. It's regarding what will happen in a few months. You mean you're finally retiring? Gasped Naruto. I knew it was only a matter of time before you turned over your hat. Yes, I'm going to be Hokage. Tsunade and Jiraiya sweat dropped. No, I'm not retiring. Although it is tempting with this damned paperwork, Tsunade said while sending a death glare towards the stack of papers on her desk. In just about 4 months from now, you'll be turning 16. Which means your true heritage will be revealed to not only the village, but also the world, said Tsunade. 16 is also the age at which a clan head can assume the full responsibilities associated with being a clan head. Which means that in less than 4 short months, you will officially be recognized as the head of the Uzumaki clan. I know that when your heritage comes to light, you'll be given the opportunity to take on your father's name, but after seeing that you've managed to find family from the Uzumaki side of your family. I know. I'll be honest and say that I have given it some thought, said Naruto. Ero Sennin did talk to me about this during our time away. But when I really think about it, I don't know too much about where my father's family comes from. From what I managed to find out from either asking Ero Sennin, Kakashi-sensei, or from the village archives, I know the Namikaze family came to Konoha in the early days of the village and that they were a skilled shinobi family, but before that, I don't really know. Besides, I've been trained in the Uzumaki techniques for the past few years, I've been told numerous stories about my ancestors and the clan they come from, and I just feel like I have a closer connection to the Uzumaki name. I understand. I just wanted to make sure you're aware. I thought I would give you some time to think about it, said Tsunade. I'll tell you a bit more as the time for you to take up the role of the Uzumaki clan head draws closer, but that can wait. So have you thought about possibly invoking the Clan Restoration Act? Nudged Jiraiya, that famed perverted grin coming onto his face. Just you and all those lovely ladies. Shut it, you pervert, shouted Tsunade as she smacked Jiraiya upside the head. About that, I am legally bound to inform you of it, but it appears as if someone already told you about it, sighed Tsunade. First is that it is entirely optional. If you're the last surviving member of your clan, you may take more than one woman as your bride to help you in the restoration of your clan. I know all about the CRA, Bachan. Ero Sennin made sure of it, groaned Naruto. Jiraiya just let out a nervous grin. I can already say I don't plan on invoking it. Tsunade let out a sigh of relief. Oh, thank Kami. I was afraid you'd do something stupid. She then sent a glare to her teammate. What were you even thinking, trying to convince Naruto to undertake that stupid excuse for opening a whorehouse? I didn't, sweated Jiraiya. Actually Bachan, Ero-Sennin told me not to do it. I could never ask Hinata-chan to do that. Besides, I'm not the last living member of my clan. There's Karen Nichan, Kairi Obakan, all the other Uzumakis in the Land of Iron, and I'm confident there are still a few more out there somewhere. My clan's just scattered, not extinct, said Naruto. Speaking of which, I was wondering if I could ask you a favor, Bachan. What did you do now, Gaki? Asked Tsunade, expecting the worst. Nothing, at least not yet. I wanted to ask if you could give me and my team more missions that involve bounties, said Naruto. Tsunade gave the blonde a confused look, wondering what he could need money for. I have quite a bit of money saved up, but it's not enough. If I want to rebuild the Uzumaki clan, then I'm going to need somewhere for us all to live. So you're looking to build a clan compound? Asked Tsunade. Naruto nodded. I suppose I could do that. You and your team still have a few days rest, but I'll see what I can do once you're eligible for a mission again. Thanks Bachan, smiled Naruto before leaving Tsunade, and Jiraiya told him not to take the CRA. Questioned a skeptical Tsunade. I honestly told him not to do it. He'd be happier having a family that loves him for who he is instead of a bunch of clingy women who want him just for his money, said Jiraiya. Even if I would give anything to have beautiful women throwing themselves at me every night. Sure. Naruto just let out a groan as he looked across the table he and his team were seated at. On his way out of the Hokage's tower, Naruto had bumped into his team, who had come looking for him for a team dinner. Of course, since Sai was now a part of their team, Sai was situated directly across from Naruto, giving the blonde his fake and slightly creepy silence. Sakura just sighed. She had hoped to clear some of the tension between Naruto and Sai with a nice and friendly dinner while acquainting Sai and Sasuke. Of course, things weren't going to go that easy. What did you just call me? Growled Sasuke as his eye twitched in an irritated manner. Is there something wrong? I just thought that giving someone a nickname would be the best way to reduce emotional barriers and hasten the development of understanding between yourself and others. At least, that's what I read in a book. Duck butt, smiled Sai. Calm down. I'm sure he didn't mean it, said Sakura, slowly realizing this was not turning out how she hoped it would be. I told you he's an asshole, said Naruto. Replied Sasuke. Will you two stop it? Said Sakura, trying to defuse the situation the best she could. Sai, if you really want to give someone a nickname, you can't be so blunt about it. Try giving them a nickname that actually complements them and their characteristics. Sai thought for a moment before smiling at Sakura. Thanks, I think I've got the hang of it, ugly. Ellipsis. Naruto and Sasuke both cowered in fear as Sakura smiled sweetly at Sai, before Shinoru. All three male members of Team 7 rubbed the bumps on their heads. Naruto and Sasuke received theirs trying to restrain Sakura in order to prevent her from leveling the entire restaurant, and Sai received his for obvious reasons. Sakura took a big sip from a nearby sake bottle before setting it down in a stack of 4 other bottles. She had instantly gone for the alcohol the moment Sai decided to open his mouth, as Naruto and Sasuke could only help but stare as she handled the sake like a seasoned pro. Well, she is the apprentice of Tsunade, said Kurama. It shouldn't surprise you that she picked up one of her master's traits. After all, Sasuke reads Ika just like Kakashi, and you're a pervert like Jiraiya. I'm not a pervert. Kurama just laughed as he flooded Naruto's mind full of various images of sexy women and perverted thoughts as Naruto did his absolute best to keep his blood from either spilling out of his nose or pooling in a certain area of the male anatomy. Hinata-chan. Eep. Naruto had caught up with Hinata the following day, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind and pulling his girlfriend in close before giving her a few tingling kisses along the base of her neck. Naruto-kun, what are you doing? Asked Hinata as she pulled away from Naruto slightly. What's the matter, Hina-chan? I've been in the desert for the past week and I was looking forward to spending some quality time with you. Besides, I just want to give you what's yours. Isn't that what you want? Whispered Naruto into Hinata's ear. Realizing that Naruto was referring to her little outburst a while back, Hinata instantly blushed. Well, can we go somewhere with a little more privacy? Giggled Hinata as the two bolted off towards their favorite spot to spend time together, the Hokage monument. It didn't take long before the two were locked in a passionate makeout session. Hinata had already removed her jacket, revealing the dark purple t-shirt that she wore underneath, which just seemed to cling tightly to her curves, providing Naruto's eyes a good show before the lavender vixen laid herself on top of her blonde fox. Naruto wrapped his arms around her waist tightly as their lips began to play with one another. To Naruto's own surprise, Hinata was even teasing him a little bit as she would oftentimes rock her body up against Naruto's, giving the blonde just enough of a taste of what she had to offer to keep him asking for more. While he might have been surprised, he was beginning to notice this side of Hinata more and more ever since he returned, and there was no way he could deny that he enjoyed it. Inside Naruto's head, Kurama was observing the show. Oh, it's only a matter of time for those two. I've got a feeling it won't be too much longer before mating season comes around, thought Kurama to himself as he let out a slight perverted chuckle. As the sun began to set, the two finally decided that they should get on with their night. Figuring they had enough dessert, the couple of lovers returned to the village to find somewhere to eat. While walking through the village, they passed a rather large crowd, composed primarily of men, at the village's theater for the premiere showing of Jiraiya's Ika Ika, the movie. Naruto was pretty sure he could pick out Kakashi-sensei in the crowd. Not many people have gravity-defying silver hair, though he couldn't quite figure out who the three other individuals were with him. Still, Naruto sent a questioning look towards the one who had a large afro, big glasses that were too dark to see through, and a nose that just screamed, "My plastic surgeon's a complete asshole." Naruto had also sensed a familiar chakra coming from another one of them as he noticed that said person was obviously under a genjutsu. No, that can't be Sasuke, can it? Thought Naruto as he recognized the chakra signature of the genjutsu. If Sakura-chan knew he was here. A cold chill sent Naruto shuddering at that very thought. Naruto returned to his current quest, dinner with Hinata, when his stomach reminded him of its desire. Sadly, there was one last obstacle standing in the way of Naruto and his favorite dinner stop in all of Konoha, and that obstacle went by the name of Kurenai-sensei, who was out on the town with her fiancé. Naruto, I can see this is an inconvenient time for you, but I need to ask you something important, asked Kurenai. Is it about Enko's seal? Asked Naruto, already figuring out what Kurenai had wanted. It is. You said you would take a look at it when both of you were off missions, asked Kurenai. Before Naruto even had a chance to respond, Kurenai began pleading. Please. That thing has been driving her crazy ever since she got it. If there's a way to get rid of it, she may seem like some crazy psycho, and she may be, but to me she's like a sister and I don't want her to suffer any longer. Naruto smiled. Kurenai didn't need to resort to begging, as Naruto was already planning on helping her. But Kurenai expressing her feelings for Enko only served to make him more determined to get rid of that damned snake Hiki. Don't worry Kurenai-sensei, I'll get that seal of Enko, I promise. Tabeo, declared Naruto. I'll ask Bachan for a place to do it tomorrow. Just see her. Really. Thank you, Naruto-kun, bowed Kurenai as a few joyful tears came to her eye. Enjoy your evening you too. Bye Kurenai-sensei. Hinata waved before being tugged by Naruto in the direction of Ramani Delight. The following day, Naruto was surprised at the number of people who simply came to observe him rid Enko of her curse mark. Around the outside of the secure room which Tsunade had provided, stood Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kurenai, Asuma, Kakashi, Sakura, Sasuke, Hinata, Hanabi, Neji, Hiashi, somewhat surprisingly Ino, although she is one of Enko's students, and even Zabuza and Haku. Naruto was honestly expecting only Tsunade, Jiraiya, Kurenai, and maybe Hinata, but it appeared as if everyone here wanted to see if the rumors about Naruto's sealing talents surpassing that of Jiraiya's were true. And what better way to test Naruto than to see if he could defeat one of the few seals not even Jiraiya could figure out, Orochimaru's curse mark. I still don't believe a Gaki like you can actually get rid of this bitch, but if Kurenai says you can, I'll trust you this once, said Enko before laying face down on a mat in the middle of the room. So how are you going to do this, Naruto? Asked Jiraiya. I honestly think the regression seal's the best way to go. I'll be sure to make a copy of Enko's seal before doing it though so you and I can take a good look at it, said Naruto. Wait, how are you going to make a copy if the seal's already in place on Enko? Asked Jiraiya. Like this, said Naruto as he walked over to Enko and pulled down her shirt just enough to expose the curse mark of heaven at the base of Enko's neck. Fuinjutsu. Seal copying technique. Naruto placed his hand on top of Anko's mark. As he pulled his hand away, an exact replica of the curse mark rose up, suspended just beneath Naruto's open palm. However, it wasn't just the curse mark that appeared to rise up out of Anko's shoulder. A complex sealing matrix, the underlying workings of the curse mark, came with it. It's an Uzumaki clan technique where we can take a seal that has already been applied somewhere and copy it along with its formula to a scroll to study. Naruto placed his hand down on an open scroll and the sealing formula for the curse mark appeared. Jiraiya and Tsunade just stared at the scroll like they had just struck gold. Jiraiya immediately picked up the scroll and began examining it. So that's how that accursed thing works, gasped the Toad Sage. If Orochimaru developed something like this, there's only one way. He's discovered Ruchi Cave. Tsunade's eyes widened at the mentioning of that place. I'm going to have to talk this over with Fukusaku-sama, said Jiraiya as he rolled up the scroll and tucked it away in his coat. Yeah, can we get to getting this fucking thing off of me? Demanded Anko. Naruto nodded as Jiraiya stepped away and the blonde took the large scroll which he had brought with him off his back. Naruto unfurled the scroll to reveal its contents, the regression seal. So that's the seal Naruto used to remove Neji's seal, thought Hiashi. He had been hoping that Naruto would use this, wanting to see that seal in action after Naruto showed it to him during that one time. Naruto proceeded to connect the seal to Anko's curse mark before taking a step back and sitting down in a meditative position. This seal had been on Anko longer than Neji's and he would need all the chakra he could get. What's he? Kurenai was about to ask, but was cut off by Jiraiya. Please don't disturb him from this point out, said Jiraiya. Right now, he's gathering all the chakra he can get. Believe it or not, that seal in particular requires an ungodly amount of chakra. Moments later, Naruto stood up, orange pigments outlining his eyes. Are you ready, Anko? This is going to hurt a bit, warned Naruto. PFT, please. I don't care what sort of pain I've gotta go through if it means getting rid of this thing, said Anko. Naruto placed his hand over top of Anko's curse mark, but before he could even activate the seal, a shot of pain radiated through Anko's body as the mark somehow sensed that Anko was trying to get rid of it and began protesting. Get this thing off, screamed Anko as the mark tried to spread outward to take over Anko before Naruto could attempt to remove it. Secret Uzumaki Fuinjutsu. Regression seal, said Naruto as he activated the seal while Anko was doing everything she could to resist the mark. As Jiraiya watched on, he noticed that Naruto had stopped moving completely and was now acting as a channel for chakra to power the seal, pulling natural energy to power it instead of his own. By the 3-year mark, Naruto was still holding his own, not having to rely on Kurama's chakra at all. If he can make it just a little longer on natural energy, then there's no doubt he'll be able to get it with Kurama's chakra finishing it off. The 5-year mark passed and Naruto had finally exhausted the natural energy in his system and took on the version 1 cloak. Considering Naruto could only reach year 1 before without Kurama's chakra, the addition of natural energy appeared to make a huge difference when using the regression seal. Anko let out another cry of pain as the process neared the end, the curse mark making one last attempt to save itself before it spun and disappeared completely from the base of Anko's neck. As Naruto saw it disappear, he deactivated the version 1 cloak, which had managed to maintain all 9 tails this time around. It's gone, gasped Kurenai. A few other people, mainly those who were not familiar with the seal at all, just stared in surprise. That seal's something, isn't it? Jiraiya asked no one in particular. Kurenai was the first one at Anko's side as the Tokubetsu Jonin fought off the last bits of pain and opened her eyes. Anko immediately reached for the back of her neck instinctively. She was now in a state of disbelief. For the first time in 13 years, she couldn't feel that snake's dark chakra running through her system. Is it really? Gasped the purple-haired Kunoichi. Kurenai smiled before removing her forehead protector and using it as a mirror to show Anko a bare neck. Naruto had braced himself for just about any reaction from the crazy snake Kunoichi, but what happened wasn't quite what he had expected at all. Anko immediately wrapped the blonde up in a frantic hug while repeatedly shouting, "Thank you," as if she were a little girl whose dad had just let her get a new puppy. That part really wasn't too bad, but Anko had sandwiched Naruto's head in her sizable cleavage, while her grip had prevented the blonde from coming up for air. A few people didn't know how to react and Jiraiya was quickly cursing his own luck while praising his apprentice at the same time. However, any thoughts going around the room were killed by a massive spike of killing intent, coming from none other than a certain Hyuga. A hug or a thank you, Hinata would understand completely, but once Anko started rubbing her breasts in Naruto's face, Hinata couldn't help it. She practically stomped over to where Naruto was slowly having the life squeezed out of him and tore him from Anko's grasp. Naruto had only a moment to breathe before being smothered by yet another pair of breasts, these belonging to Hinata. A wicked smirk appeared on Anko's face, the smirk that scared even Ibiki. I see how it is. The little princess wants the Gaki all for herself. I understand completely, smiled Anko. Besides, I don't have time to take care of the Gaki tonight. Anko strode over towards where Zabuza was. Nope, I'm going to busy breaking in my new toy, all night long. A night alone with Anko. Some people were praising Zabuza like some sort of man god, others were sending him silent prayers. Now if you'll excuse us, grinned Anko as she left the room with Zabuza. Oh, and try not to wear the Gaki out too soon. As Anko finally left the room to go celebrate, Hinata finally realized what had just happened as she let out a small eep and jumped back, releasing the panting blonde from her grasp. It wasn't that she had just thrown herself at Naruto, partially giving into her hormones, it was because there were other people present, including her own family, who had witnessed her little act that had caused her to go red from embarrassment. Hiashi sent Naruto a look and Naruto just responded with a big grin. After last night, he and Naruto had come to an understanding with one another and Hiashi was forced to concede to allowing Naruto and Hinata's love life play its natural course. It however was Hanabi who was the first one to speak. I see how it is Nisan. Don't worry. If you want, I can ensure you and Naruto have some privacy tonight, grinned Hanabi as she pointed to Hiashi. Hanabi. Squeaked Hinata. It's not. Wait. That's not what I just saw, teased Hanabi. The entire room burst out in laughter. Jiraiya, Tsunade growled at her perverted teammate who had just recorded the entire event in his notebook. Jiraiya just sweated as he quickly put his notebook away. But it was already too late. Ideas for the next Ika book were already flowing through his perverted mind. Orochimaru's eyes widened in shock and surprise. Because the curse marks he gave contained a part of him, he could feel what was happening to every one of his victims that he gave the mark to. However, one or two curse marks fading every now and then really didn't surprise him that much as it was expected that those who bore the mark would die off for one reason or another. But the mark that he sensed disappear off his radar wasn't just any mark. It was Anko's mark. Orochimaru-sama, is everything okay? Asked a concerned Kabuto. Anko-chan's curse mark has vanished. I can no longer sense it, said Orochimaru. Pity. She must have finally died, said Kabuto. No, that's not it, hissed Orochimaru. I know Anko-chan. She wouldn't die just like that. It's been removed. But sir, the only one who can remove it is you, gasped Kabuto. How is that possible? I don't know Kabuto, said Orochimaru. And once the transfer is complete and I have my new body, I intend to find out. So you've decided then? Asked Kabuto. I have. Prepare Karatsu, said Orochimaru. I figured you would choose him, Orochimaru-sama, grinned Kabuto. The dark release Kekkei Genkei surely is something, isn't it? It is, but that's not the one that truly captured my interest, grinned Orochimaru. Walking through the village early one morning, Naruto let out a big yawn. What to do today? Kakashi-sensei, Sakura-chan, Sasuke, and Sai have all been given a mission without me, leaving me here alone. I guess I could go and see if Hinata-chan wants to do something, though she's probably busy training with Neji and Hiashi-san in the morning, so I'll have to wait until after lunch. It really didn't come as a surprise that Naruto was sitting this mission out. Tsunade had granted Naruto his request in helping him towards obtaining a plot of land to help with the restoration of the Uzumaki clan, and for the past month, Naruto and his team had been given 5 missions, all resulting in rather sizable bounties. Combining those bounties along with the money he had saved up over the past few years, any money he managed to win off of Tsunade during their weekly poker nights, and of course the royalties he got from helping Jiraiya with the Ika books, it wouldn't be much longer before he would be able to start re-establishing his clan in Konoha. Oi, Naruto. Naruto turned around to see Kiba and Shino behind him, both wearing what appeared to be well-packed backpacks. Naruto's thoughts immediately jumped to one conclusion: a long time without Hinata-chan. Hey, what's up? Looks like you guys have a mission. Yeah, Hokage-sama assigned us to an extended border patrol around the northern border, groaned Kiba. 2 whole months at the outpost along the borders of Fire Country and Hot Water Country, yay. Naruto could already feel his spirits deflate. 2 months without Hinata. Yeah, Hinata's the lucky one. She's on standby so she doesn't have to sit in that outpost for the next 2 months, said Kiba. Wait, Hinata-chan's not going away. Yada! Exclaimed Naruto. Well, he seems excited, said Kiba as the excited blonde dashed down the street. Of course he is. I know he would not enjoy being separated from Hinata-san for that long, stated Shino. Why? Because he and Hinata enjoy each other's company, just as I enjoy Fu-san's company. Yeah, waved Kiba as he and Shino proceeded to the main gate to meet up with Yamato and Fu. Akamaru barked and Kiba sighed. Yeah, I know, boy. Just about everyone's got someone. Hell, even Shino's going out with someone. I mean, sure, I've been on plenty of dates with girls around the village, but that's all they've been. Tsunade's office, Tsunade-sama, an urgent request from the land of birds, said Shizune, presenting Tsunade with a mission request scroll. It's sad that their daimyo has passed away, as well as Lady Toki. I knew the daimyo personally and he was a good man, said Tsunade. So they are requesting a guard detail during the coronation of Lord Sagi. Shizune, who do we have on standby for a high C-rank mission? Asked Tsunade. Shizune handed Tsunade a list. C ranks were reserved primarily for more experienced genin and newly minted chunin, although it was entirely possible for more experienced chunin or under-experienced genin to participate. As Tsunade looked down the list, most of the eligible candidates for this type of mission were either currently on a mission, listed as injured, or inactive for one reason or another. As she scanned the room, there were only a handful of shinobi to choose from, most of them being extremely underqualified genin. I suppose I could give some genin a chance who have worked hard and pair them with 2 chunin. Now let's see who that could be. Tsunade's list narrowed even further, and once she realized that there were only 4 names that stood out and her head fell against her desk as she let out a groan. Hiyashi's gonna kill me, groaned Tsunade. Tsunade-sama? Questioned Shizune while Taunton hopped from Shizune's arms and onto Tsunade's desk to poke the troubled Hokage. Tsunade quickly scribbled down a few names onto a piece of paper and handed it to Shizune. Shizune, please summon these 4 for a mission briefing. As Naruto was running down an empty side alley, he suddenly stopped when he encountered an unexpected surprise. Sexy Jutsu, Hinata version. Naruto immediately stopped dead in his tracks as he gazed upon a beautiful and quite naked Hinata standing in front of him. Hi. Naruto's words were caught in his own throat as his eyes took in the image of a completely naked Hinata standing in front of him. The luscious curves, busty breasts, and innocent yet sexy expression on her face all etched themselves into his memory. Damn. I'd tap that, whistled Kurama. Ha. I got you, Naruto-nichan, exclaimed Konohamaru as he undid the transformation. Now you've gotta show me a cool jutsu. Whack. Don't do that, you little brat. Shouted Naruto as he smacked Konohamaru upside the head. Hinata-chan's not like that. You can't just go around transforming into her like that in the middle of the village. What if someone saw you do that? Naruto shivered at the thought of someone like Hiyashi, or worse, Hinata, seeing that jutsu. But still, he couldn't help but agree with his inner pervert on 2 things. 1. Konohamaru's sexy jutsu version was spot on, and 2. Hinata had an incredibly hot body. Konohamaru sighed. I know, boss. But it was the only thing I could think that would work on you. Tell you what, I promise I won't use that ever again if you teach me something. Naruto couldn't help but smile at his little brother figure's enthusiasm to learn from him. You know, perhaps I could teach him a thing or 2. Iruka-sensei said he's been working pretty hard and perhaps he's ready to learn something more. Yeah, I suppose I could help you out, said Naruto. Although, where's Iruka-sensei? Shouldn't you be meeting with your team sometime later at a nearby training ground? So your team and Hanabi's team were on a joint mission to take care of some bandits, but the bandits had some missing ninja in their rank, said Naruto, summarizing Konohamaru's story as they made their way to Training Ground 7. So this misinformation resulted in Iruka-sensei getting injured while saving you. However, Udon and Hanabi's two teammates getting injured later in the fights as well. Yeah. Iruka-sensei was incredible taking out that one Chunin, giving me the perfect opportunity to take out the rest of the enemies and save everyone, boasted Konohamaru. You really should have seen it, boss, the way I stepped in and took down that enemy ninja before he could hurt Hanabi. Oh, he's so bluffing, almost as bad as you used to. I can smell it, said Kurama. Hey. Isa did not have to lie to tell everyone how awesome I was, retorted Naruto. And how many times did Sasuke have to cover your ass back when you were genin, replied Kurama. Those don't count, shouted Naruto as Kurama just rolled his eyes. Alright Konohamaru. I remember promising you to help teach you that jutsu of Sandaime Gigi's if you could use the shadow clone jutsu well enough, said Naruto. Awesome. I won't disappoint you, boss. Huh. Naruto said as he heard the call of a hawk above them. Naruto motioned for it and the hawk landed on his outstretched arm. Taking the scroll from the message pouch, the blonde turned to Konohamaru. We'll have to do this some other time, Konohamaru. Tsunade Bachan wants us in her office. Stand still. Nichan, shouted Hanabi as she struck at Hinata. The two had been sparring in the courtyard as part of their father's morning training regimen for them. Even though Hinata was still reluctant to land a hit on her little sister, that didn't mean she had to let Hanabi hit her. Her inability to land a single hit on Hinata was causing the younger Hanabi to unleash some bottled-up frustration. As Hinata spun out of the way of one of her sister's strikes, Hanabi's palm collided with a wooden post that was behind where Hinata used to be. Hanabi's frustration had caused her to inadvertently unleash a burst of chakra, splintering the post. Imoto, is something wrong? Asked Hinata. While Hanabi would always face a spar with confidence and fierceness that was known throughout the main branch of the Hyugas, even Hanabi wouldn't use a strike like that in a spar. That strike could have seriously injured someone. It's all that Baka's fault, shouted a frustrated Hanabi. Hinata just sent Hanabi a questioning look, waiting for her sister to continue. It was because Konohamaru Baka had to just charge in there, without any plan, and trying to play the hero that everyone else got hurt. Hinata sighed while Neji just rolled his eyes as he was reminded of a certain blonde a few years ago. Before Hanabi could vent some more, a messenger hawk appeared above the Hyuga household, landing on Hinata's outstretched arm. Taking the note, the Hyuga beauty read it before turning to the rest of her family. I am sorry Tusen, but it appears Hanabi and I are being summoned by Tsunade-sama, said Hinata. Both of us? Asked Hanabi. Probably a mission of some sort, said Neji. It is about time that they begin to mix up some teams a little to give Genin some experience with working with other shinobi and giving Chunin an easy opportunity to hone their leadership skills. Omake. Deleted scene. An understanding Hitaki Kakashi, avid Ika Ika fan, was one of the many fans of the hit adult novel series in line for the premiere of the first ever Ika Ika movie, being released right here in Konoha. Currently, Kakashi was standing outside the movie theater when he was approached by a man with dark brown and spiky hair with a goatee beard. Well, it seems you made it, Sasuke, said Kakashi as he looked up at the man. The one-eyed Jonin could instantly sense the transformation he had placed on himself to make him appear older, considering this movie was for the 18 and older crowd only. However, after being converted into almost as avid of an Ika Ika fan as Kakashi himself, there was no way Sasuke was waiting another 2 years to see the movie. A simple transformation to make him appear as an adult would deter most civilians from questioning his age, while a quick hypnotizing genjutsu from his Sharingan would take care of most trained shinobi. Any other shinobi present, such as Kakashi, just honestly didn't care. A few short minutes later, they ran into Ebisu, who had put on a quick disguise as well. He had a reputation to keep and as such, had thrown a quick disguise together. The disguise itself was reasonable, unlike the one belonging to the next member joining them. Kakashi's eye widened as he tried his best to suppress a laugh as a man with an afro, resembling something that guy would do if he was going to a disco club, and a nose that was so horrendously huge that only an elephant's mother could be proud of it. Of course, the large glasses hiding the man's eyes didn't help him at all. Is that really the best you could do, Hiashi? Chuckled Kakashi. You couldn't have just used a simple transformation. This was all I could find. Some little brat ruined my old disguise with his last prank and I couldn't risk a transformation. What'll I do if someone undoes the transformation? I have a reputation to maintain, said Hiyashi. I don't recall Naruto pulling any pranks lately, said Kakashi. It wasn't Naruto, groaned Hiyashi. Apparently, Konohamaru's growing rivalry with Hanabi had prompted him to pulling a prank on the Hyuga clan, using Hiyashi's old disguise as part of the prank. Kakashi just shrugged as they went into the movie. Part way into the movie, a scene appeared on the screen and to everyone's surprise, a familiar blonde appeared within that scene. It wasn't an adult scene, but to the raging Hiyashi, it didn't really matter that much. Naruto and Hinata were currently eating their dinner at Naruto's favorite restaurant in the village, Ichiraku Ramen, when a cry rang out through the village that instantly sent the blonde into a panic. Uzumaki Naruto. Oh crap. He found out. Sweated Naruto as he grabbed Hinata to try and find a place to hide from Hiyashi, who was now right down the street, running at blinding speeds towards Naruto with a Juken strike aimed for his manhood. Naruto-kun. What's going on? Asked Hinata. Naruto dodged Hiyashi's strike. I swear Hiyashi-san, I didn't mean to. You see, Ero Sennin needed someone to fill that role and he refused to train me unless I agreed to play the part. It wasn't anything bad, I swear. Still, you were on the Ika Ika set. I saw you in the movie. I thought I made it clear to stay away from sensei's less desirable traits, said Hiyashi. Hinata's eyes immediately snapped open. Her father wasn't like that. He wouldn't go to such a movie, would he? Damn it. Hiyashi immediately smacked himself as he just realized he had admitted to basically being a closet pervert and Ika Ika fan in front of his own daughter. Fortunately for Naruto, he had also picked up on Hiyashi's slip. You know Hiyashi-san, now that I think about it, I seem to remember a few stories of your time under Ero Sennin's tutelage, said Naruto as he locked eyes with his sibling student. Normally, Hiyashi would be able to win such a staring contest hands down, but if Naruto was talking about the stories he thought, this was one argument he didn't want getting out of hand, especially one with a hyperactive blonde. Surprisingly, Naruto wasn't backing down to the feared Hyuga stare, and Hiyashi knew that Naruto indeed knew of some of his exploits under Jiraiya's tutelage. So, wanting to make sure nothing got out, he gave in. It believe then we've come to an understanding, Naruto. Yes, I believe we have, replied Naruto. Well then, you two have a good night, said Hiyashi as he quickly left. Naruto let out a sigh of relief. Oh Naruto-kun. Hinata said sweetly, too sweetly. Naruto gulped.